Can I survive a long time? Probably. What's going to be my downfall, I think, is a pathological fracture with maybe internal bleeding to the point where my body will succumb. And it will, if that's the way it is. It's the way it is. Wife in the background, she's kind of getting ready to hide.
Oh boy, tell her I said hello. I've heard such great things about her and my wife as well. And you know what, my wife and I feel like we know you guys, but of course we don't.
I know.
But we live
yeah, almost vicariously, actually.
Vicariously. Can I bring you on?
I'm good. Yeah.
Dr. Dannenberg, how are you, sir?
I am amazingly well. Amazingly well.
God bless.
And if it was 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, my wish was to die. And I thought I had died.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow. Because not everybody knows. I mean, most people do. They've been reading your blogs, and I've been trying to share your story, but can you take us a little bit back?
Well, first of all, I lived a primal lifestyle with a primal diet. So basically, I ate paleo, exercised appropriately, slept really well. I was physically, mentally very, very healthy by the age of 71. So in September of 2018, I'm 71 in that time frame. I'm getting some kind of soreness in my shoulder, my ribs, whatever. Went to the doctor. To make a very long story short, I was diagnosed with an incurable bone marrow cancer called IgA kappa light chain multiple myeloma. The biggest problem with this disease, other than it's going to kill me, is that it causes my bone structure throughout my body to become osteolytic in the regards of a seriously diseased osteoporotic person. So I have holes throughout my skeleton, and my skeleton is possibly not going to be able to support my own body weight. In other words, I can have pathological fractures.
May I stop you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
For those that don't understand what you just said, because it's very technical, would it be safe to say this is bone cancer, or is that?
Yes, it is an aggressive bone marrow cancer.
Okay.
And it is incurable. In other words, there are chemotherapy protocols that have been used to bring this disease into remission, but then you go out of remission and then you need a more aggressive form or cocktail of chemotherapy, and eventually the chemotherapy doesn't work and you die from the complications of multiple myeloma. Although you may have more extended years of life, you may have significantly decreased quality of life.
Understood.
My overriding goal was not the extension of my life, but to maintain the quality of my life.
And many people here can understand that in a minor degree, because many people here have chosen not to use the MS drugs, which is a totally different thing that you're dealing with, but a little similar.
Sure, very similar.
So can we even take a step further? What is and I know it's a theory, why do you think that you got multiple myeloma?
Well, I think this is an important fact. First of all, I did some research. I found a published peer-reviewed paper, maybe 5+ years ago, that showed that the cohort of dentists, my cohort, which means basically my age group, 65 to 73 or whatever that age group was in the study, male dentists at that age group had a significantly higher incidence of multiple myeloma than the general male population of that age. So that tells me maybe something is going on with our dental training and exposure to toxic elements for an extended period of time that isn't happening with the general public. So I'm racking my brain, and I do have a little bit of a brain, and I'm figuring what could it have been? Well, one thing that is known to cause multiple myeloma is ionizing radiation, basically dental x-rays. And we were in a clinic.
Wow.
I was in a
Wow.
clinic for 6 continuous years,
Yes.
4 years as dental training and 2 years as a specialist for periodontics.
Mhm.
So I'm exposed to radiation. I mean, I never thought about being careful. So it's in an open clinic. I'm moving around. I don't know if the machines, x-ray machines, are going on or off. I don't know that I'm being protected. But for 6 continuous years, I'm exposed to significantly higher ionizing radiation than the general public.
You know
The
what's very,
second- Mhm.
I'm sorry, you know what's very interesting about that? I was in the military, I believe you were as well. When I was exposed, when we always wore a radiation badge and it was monitored, but in dental school, that was not an issue. We never had anything like that.
I never had a radiation badge in those days. I mean, we're talking about the very early 1970s.
I didn't have it. I
Sure.
was the early 80s, but
Okay, I'm sure today things are much more controlled.
I hope so. Okay.
And then the other thing is we place mercury fillings, silver fillings, the amalgam fillings that so many people probably have in their mouth.
Yes.
So we place these in patients' mouths, and we place them by mixing pure elemental mercury
Yep.
with a powder of amalgam to create this filling material. And we actually squeeze the excess amalgam mercury, or the mercury from the amalgam,
With
out
cheesecloth.
with cheesecloth, and these little balls of mercury we play with in our hands like
All over our hands.
Play-Doh,
Yeah.
and then we throw the little balls of excess mercury on the floor that vaporize, so the entire environment of the dental school, and that's patients as well as instructors and anybody walking into the
The
dental clinic,
assistants, the rate of
everybody.
the
We are exposed
spontaneous
to free,
abortions, you name it.
amazing. So we're exposed to this free environmental evaporated mercury for 6 continuous years. So these 2 toxic elements, without a doubt, have been shown to be highly toxic to the human body and cause cancer and a host of other diseases.
Right.
And I think that could have been. And then the other toxic loads from living in a country where I ate unhealthy foods originally, and certainly I was exposed to the toxins that most westernized Americans living in big cities would be exposed to. So I think that's the cause. Now, that was 40 years ago. But
Okay.
it only takes one malignant plasma cell, which is what multiple myeloma is, a malignancy of the plasma cells. One malignant plasma cell that never gets destroyed properly to just continuously grow. And my oncologist, when I was diagnosed in September of 2018, suggested that I probably didn't manifest this disease earlier because I had started a very healthy lifestyle and diet maybe 6 years or so prior to my diagnosis. So that may be, but eventually it manifested. And the reason it manifested, it caused pain in my chest because I literally had a fractured vertebra, a fractured rib, a fractured pelvis because of the holes in my bone. So my normal weight or pressure caused these bones to fracture.
So is the pathophysiology, is the bone, it's not calcium solely, it's more than that. No, the body is.
Well, the calcium is being demineralized from the bone, and the
Okay.
bone is getting wholly, porous, and because of that, brittle.
Where is that calcium going? I mean, that's
Well, that's interesting. That's a very interesting thing because it normally would go into the serum. My normal blood chemistries showed a normal calcium serum. So there was no alert that I was having a problem.
Really?
So it was being metabolized in some other way. And I don't know.
Wow.
But the interesting thing is, I went the unconventional route, looking for a variety of supplements that could support my bone metabolism and support my immune system and even maybe kill some cancer cells. So this is what I started in September 2018. And I did extremely well until March of this year, March 2019, when I broke a vertebra pathologically, and the lesion was touching the spinal cord, and I had severe leg pain, and I had to have surgery done and radiation to kill the lesion. That doesn't stop the disease, just stops the lesion from pressing the nerve tissues, and I recovered well. So let's fast forward to when I thought I was going to die.
Yes, sir.
So in mid-August of this year, I'm walking in a walker. So I'm a rollator. It's a walker. So I'm using a walker in my bathroom, brushing my teeth. Generally, no problem. I put weight on my right foot, my left foot. I use the walker, no problem. I twisted and turned to either put the toothpaste back on my sink or whatever, and all hell broke loose. My right leg crushed. I fell to the ground. I bounced off the floor. My rib cage was bruised, and I completely split the humerus of my left arm. So I split the femur in my right leg. I split the humerus in my right arm, and I was laying as a crumpled piece of human flesh on my bathroom floor, writhing in pain. I was screaming. My wife came running, and all I could say is, I want to die. I want to die.
So just to reiterate, you did not fall. You didn't get hit by a truck.
No.
You took a strange twist and
think of a chicken bone and twisting it like this. You can see me. I twisted my femur like that. The fall broke my humerus, which is still unset. So my right arm is somewhat non-functional. I've gotten some use out of it, but
still
basically
unset. So
it's not going to be set. It's only going to be splinted.
Okay, and so you cannot lift.
Oh no! I can't raise my arm. No.
No.
And they put in some titanium screws and a bar to reconstruct my femur so I could walk. I mean, if I didn't do that, the bone would have cut the femoral artery and I would have died.
So they reconstruct your femur like a titanium plate?
Yeah, it's plate and screws to hold it all back together. Of course, we're dealing with bone that doesn't metabolize well. So I know
that's what I was going to say. So it must be temporary at best.
Well, my life is temporary at best because this is not curable.
God bless.
So,
yeah.
And so I'm in hospice for pain management. I go to a hospice hospital after they set my femur. I have a catheter. I can't go to the bathroom. I need a bedpan. I'm writhing in pain. They're drugging me with all kinds of narcotic stuff. And all of a sudden, Hurricane Dorian is bearing down on Charleston, South Carolina. So the hospital is required to evacuate all of these patients, and me included. I don't have anywhere to go. They don't have anywhere to send me, so they send me home. My wife and family scramble to get a hospital bed in my house. So I'm put in a hospital bed. Again, I have an arm that is totally unfunctional. My leg has just been splinted. I can't move at all. And the power goes out in my house.
I was going to say you don't have power.
No. Well, now, not yet, but now the power goes out in my house. The hurricane hits, at 4 a.m. in the morning. The next morning after I was evacuated to my
Wow.
house.
That's like a horror story.
It is. So there's no power in an electrical bed that I need to move me. So I can't move. I'm in pain. I'm drugged up. I wanted to die. I prayed to die, but I didn't die. And the power comes back on, and whatever, my body starts to heal.
But let's define it. It's not that you want to die, but it's just you didn't want to live like this.
Exactly. I got to a point where my goal.
Yeah, I'm speaking for you. I'm sorry.
You're right. No. You're right. My goal was to live the quality of life that I wanted to live, knowing that I had this terminal disease. And I was fighting it, and successfully, very well, for almost a year.
You're sleeping on an electromagnet. I mean, you've went to the nth degree.
Right. I'm using pulse electromagnetic field therapy for my bones. I'm doing everything. And
everything from probiotics to building your
gut. Yes. Ideal diet. I have an ideal gut.
And you're following the Wahls protocol.
And I'm following the Wahls protocol. I'm basically as healthy as I could get. My only problem, and I do feel amazingly well today, my only problem is if I were to twist my left leg, the same thing would happen. So I'm trying to search for some methods to stabilize my bone. I'm doing more work on it, but we'll see. But I'm very diligent in and very careful in how I'm walking now. But I can walk. So 2 weeks ago, actually it's only been 2 weeks ago, I started physical therapy. I was able to get out of bed, able to eventually get that catheter out, which was amazing because I developed a urinary tract infection, and oh my God. So all that's gone, and I'm walking. I'm functioning. I feel good. I'm eating healthier now. I've started all my new
You're
supplements.
Walking?
With a rollator.
Wow.
So I am walking. I'm moving in a rollator.
You're able to walk to the bathroom.
I can walk to the bathroom.
Wow.
And come back.
So the title "To the Edge and Back" is accurate.
I have returned from the edge of death.
Oh, God bless.
I have. And I'm actually trying to write something about it. Attitude has a lot to do with this, but let me tell you.
Yes.
Diet is everything. I cannot prove diet is everything, but I'm going to tell you, diet is everything. Nutrition is everything. But I have a disease that is overwhelming me. But I'm going to fight this.
Can you quantify a bit about the diet and nutrition?
Well, Wahls protocol, for example. You need the nutrients, the nutritious elements. Okay. You have to have an anti-inflammatory, nutrient-dense diet, which is what the Wahls protocol is all about.
Okay.
You can call it all kinds of names, but this is basically a nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory diet.
Yes.
Getting the nutrients into the cells, and the only way you can get into the cells is you have to have a healthy gut. So if you eat all the right nutrients and you have a gut dysbiosis, meaning an imbalance of unhealthy bacteria in the gut, you won't absorb the nutrients you need.
Right, so that's an important point. So it's not necessarily what you eat, it's what you absorb and utilize.
Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. And how do you absorb it? Well,
Wow.
You get some under your tongue, if you're doing anything sublingual.
Okay.
And I do some supplements that are strictly sublingual that are pretty impressive, but you have to have a healthy gut. And I do have, and I spend a lot of time taking care of my gut with spore-based probiotics.
Spore-based, which we'd love to talk to them. How do you know you have a healthy gut?
Well, I'll tell you, I have a healthy gut because I have no problems with bowel movements. I have no bloating. I have no diarrhea, no constipation.
So if we look at the Bristol scale, you would say that your Bristol scale.
My bowel movements are, what is it, 3 or whatever?
Yeah, whatever.
Right. Well-formed
stools.
Stools.
Multiple times a day or once a day? I'm just
Basically 2, sometimes 3 times a day.
Wow.
A healthy person should
Wow.
have at least, ideally, 2 to 3 bowel movements a day.
Wow.
So
How's
I
your
have good motility.
in your hydration?
I drink water. I drink filtered water. Nothing fancy, just regular filtered water.
A massive amount, or
No, I
what's
drink
your
when I'm thirsty. I just
okay,
drink when I'm thirsty. When I'm
gotcha.
thirsty, I drink and drink and drink. I don't stop.
Salt,
But
electrolytes.
no, but I think I get that in my nutrients.
Gotcha.
The foods.
Okay.
Nothing like that.
Okay.
And another thing is, when you have a healthy gut, you basically have a healthier immune system. So I'm not getting cold. Now, my immune system theoretically should be highly compromised because my cancer is a cancer of the plasma cells, which creates the antibodies to kill off antigens in the environment.
Wow.
So most people with multiple myeloma will die, or a lot of people will die from uncontrollable infections. So I don't get
Infections of
infections.
lungs, infection from the urinary tract, and whatever.
Well, that I think it was from the catheter. That was induced.
No, but I mean just like that people will die from just these unrelated infections.
Right, because you get an infection and your immune system, which is the acquired and the innate and the also the antibodies that are created, doesn't fight the infection properly, and the infection overwhelms your defense mechanisms from your immune system. So the immune system is directly related to the health of the gut. And that's directly related to chronic systemic inflammation. That is directly related to the progression of cardiovascular disease and every and all chronic diseases known to man.
I will say this, speaking to you, your mental acuity is second to none. How do you attribute that? Because you should be exhausted. You should be mentally drained. You should be.
I think it is what I just said.
Meds. Yeah.
I am withdrawing from narcotics. So I was on maintenance doses of morphine. It has been halved already. It will be halved in another week or two, and then I'll be off of it completely.
Wow.
So I believe if this is mental acuity, I believe it is related to what I just said.
Yeah.
The gut, which is totally the core of everything else that's going on, and critically, the nutrition from a well-constructed diet like the Walsh Protocol. And you can't have a good Walsh Protocol without a healthy gut, and you can't have a healthy gut with a poor nutrition or a poor diet. Both need to be in play.
So I know you know the answer to this because you have told me this, but your gut is responsible for more than just digestion. It might be responsible for signaling your brain. It might be responsible for monitoring mutes. I mean, so many things that we probably don't even understand, right?
Exactly. The microbiome in the gut is one of the hottest researched medical topics today. And the research is showing, and you could just go to pubmed.gov, which is a receptacle or a resource of all published medical literature, peer-reviewed literature throughout the world. And you will see how many articles, thousands and thousands of peer-reviewed articles.
Just to reinforce what you're saying, 30 years ago, I called Dr. Walls up, and this is when she wrote a book called Mighty My Mitochondria. And I started talking about it. Should I be on testosterone? Should I, all these whatever wacky things in my head. There was bee stings were popular. All this crazy stuff was popular. And what she told me succinctly, and she didn't have much time on the phone, she said, the answer is in the biome. Study the biome. End the conversation. And then I didn't get it till 30 years later. I'm like, oh, wait.
And it's not, she's absolutely right. She was before her time. So the answer is in the microbiome. And the microbiome is affecting the mitochondria, which is the critical powerhouse, the battery to every cell in the body except red blood cells, because they don't have mitochondria.
And maybe analogous to bacteria itself, because the mitochondria is foreign to human nature.
Right. So it seems to be that the bacteria were incorporated in the human cell and became the mitochondria of our organism.
I'm sorry I took you off track. Please
So,
continue with your story.
no, this is all part of the story. So the reason that I feel as good as I do, and maybe the fact that my recovery has been so dramatic within just a few weeks, is because
Unbelievable.
number one, the nutrition, and I got back to it, but for 4 weeks I wasn't eating healthy. For 4 weeks I stopped all my supplements. I mean, I was in a very,
Right.
very
You were on
bad
the edge
dark
of
place.
you were on the edge of life. I mean, you
I
were.
was mentally too. I mean, I was giving up. My son actually helped, forcing me to take some nutrients that are very, very effective, that are working
Can you explain
sublingually.
that? Because you put that
Yeah,
in your blog, and I found that very interesting.
two very specific supplements that have some interesting research. One called Protovite and one called Enzor. Protovite is a liquid, basically liposomal type of nutrient, all organic.
Okay.
Um, all the nutrients that you basically would need, that is absorbed sublingually and gets into the bloodstream and thereby the cells relatively instantaneously. And another product called Enzorb is an enzyme product that's not a liquid but a gel that you take and put under your tongue, and then you swallow it, but you put it under your tongue for 30 seconds to a minute or whatever, and it provides enzymes that are necessary for the cells also. And it just gets into the cellular structure quickly. And again, absorption is everything. So if I was to only have those nutrients in a food product, it would have to go through the digestion process, through the gut, and eventually get into the bloodstream. If I had a healthy gut, which I probably did, but who knows, with all this going on, it may or may not have been as effective. So anyhow, he got me on this right away.
Okay.
And then I started to rally based on my wife. You know, she said, your color's coming back. And then when I started physical therapy and then started back on my other supplements, and again, eating my healthier diet, which I've only started in the last few days, because I pretty much gave up on all that for that period of time. I think that's the critical element. And of course, I had been on this healthy regimen all along until 4 to 6 weeks ago.
Can you discuss a little bit about liposomal, because this has become a very hot topic?
Well, and that's another I'm not a scientist, or I don't know or understand it as well as some people, but
my cells.
But my understanding is that these nutrients are coded and embedded in a phospholipid layer, which is a biologically biologically active form that literally sticks quickly to the cell itself, the cell membrane. So there are receptor sites on cells that literally suck these liposomal or material, this biologically active material, phospholipids, to the surface. And then what the cell needs, it literally sucks in from the surface membrane, and it does what it needs to do.
Because folks, if you want to look it up, you look it up, bilateral bimembrane phospholipid membrane.
Phospholipids, yeah. So the membrane is basically similar to that of the encapsulation of the nutrients, and they kind of stick together like a positive and a negative pole, so they're almost like magnetized or stuck together like a lock and a key. And once that happens, the cell can function normally. Now, all of that needs to be in conjunction with a healthy mitochondria. But the mitochondria are healthy because the nutrients are there. I mean, everything. We're such a complex organism, but all of this needs to be in play. But the nutrients have to be getting into the cell. The oxygen has to be getting into the cell to make all of this work. And free radicals that are produced need to be neutralized so that it's not killing the cell.
So to get personal, I mean, I mean, you have your own challenges, obviously.
Yes.
How does your wife and your family, how are they dealing with it?
Well,
Because,
it's a very difficult thing. I met my wife in the 9th grade. We've
oh,
just celebrated this past June
wow,
our 50th wedding anniversary.
God bless
So we've been
you.
together for a very long time,
Blessings,
and we've
yes.
been through all kinds of traumas together, like most human beings are
Okay,
when they stay
okay,
together for a long
yeah,
time.
okay,
So she knows that I have an incurable disease that will kill me sooner than later. And it is very difficult for her, obviously. So in the beginning, it was extremely difficult. Every day she would wake up crying. Um, Now, not so bad. Certainly, the past 6 weeks, it resorted to the way it was originally because I thought it was over, and it's not over. And let me tell you something funny, and that is that my wife is a nurse, so she has some experience with the sick and
okay,
dying,
okay.
and she really gave me tough love. I'm laying in this hospital bed, pathetic. Certainly, I'm in pain, but I'm a victim too. I've been creating my own victimization. So I'm laying in this bed, and she literally screams at me and says, "You need to get your act together. You are able to get out of this bed. You know that your femur was reconstructed. The orthopedic surgeon says you can put your normal weight on that leg now. So you need to get out of this bed with a physical therapist and get your body healing. And don't lay there with a catheter and a bedpan and act like a dying victim." That was tough love
Your
because
wife,
I did not want to hear that.
your
I
wife,
wanted to be
my
a little bit of
wife,
a victim.
your wife and I, my wife,
You know what? That my son and my wife literally turned me around.
yep.
And
Your,
once I turned around, it has been rapid. Now, I don't know how good I'm going to get. I will never have complete use of my right arm. If I showed you what my arm looks like, the humerus part where my biceps and triceps are, it looks like this. I mean, the bones are split. But at least here's my right arm, but this is my right hand.
wow, wow.
I can't lift my arm by itself. I have to do that with the other arm.
Yeah, but
But
just,
it's functioning, and the
wow,
pain is not significant anymore.
really.
So I'm improving. I can live like this. I know that I can do this with you and any other person. I can write my blogs. I could write books. I even did a seminar like you and I are speaking that was presented at the International Association or International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology,
I was,
IAOMT.
I was letting people know before you came on.
Yeah, September 13th, a week and a half ago, in my hospital bed.
In the midst of all this.
Yeah, and they were introducing me, as I understand it, as I am dying to speak to you. And I wanted them to say that because I wanted to make light of my condition and try to speak. Now, I know I was drugged. I don't think that I came across the way I would always come across speaking to an audience, but I did it. I wanted to
Okay.
do it. And I talked about the the mysteries of dental disease and how to really solve these mysteries. Unraveling the Mystery of Dental Disease was the title. And that's what I did for, I guess, a 50-minute seminar. So I'm trying to get back into the groove, and I will not let this keep me down. Attitude is everything too, or at least part of everything.
Can you touch on that? Because you know what? As we discuss in our little community of our little bit of pain, through MS, we all have come to the conclusion that we're going to follow diet, we're going to do the exercise, we're going to follow those. What we can't get is how do we deal with the attitude, like you just described. Do you have
I
advice?
have a strong spiritual sense. I'm not religious. I do not affiliate with any religious organization.
Okay.
But I have a very strong spiritual belief that we are living souls. We have a soul that is in a human body, and our soul will live on, and it will grow and learn. And I do believe in reincarnation into another human body and learn more lessons that our bodies or our souls require for us to eventually perfect our souls in the universe, heaven, or whatever you want to call it. I believe in a God. I believe that God is a amazingly immense force that we cannot even comprehend. I don't call God by a name, but I do believe in God, and I believe he, she, it created our souls, and we will meet up with that entity at a point in time, whenever that might be. So I think I'm here for a lesson, and maybe this is my lesson, and maybe this is what I designed for me to do, and experience this devastating disease and show it to the world that we can have an attitude that can help us heal naturally and make us survive until we don't. We're all going to die. So it's not like I'm doing anything differently. I'm just fighting this and not giving into it.
So while you're talking, I'm trying to unpack it mentally. I'm trying to understand it mentally, and I know I can't comprehend it as well as you're dealing with it. So is it you feel that there is a higher purpose, that whatever you're dealing with was meant to be, and that you're just participating in what is?
I agree, and I'll take it one step further.
Okay.
And this will blow you away. So if anybody wants to read 2 books by Dr. Michael Newton, who talks about this, you'll get an understanding of what I'm talking about. But I believe that our soul, between lives in our heavenly home, decided with our guides, if you want to use our guides as a support group in heaven, or in our soul state, I believe that our guides and my soul decided that this is the life I would lead coming back to life to experience this particular situation. And that's a lesson I needed to learn. And when I die and decide to come back and reincarnate, if that's what I decide to do, it will be because I have other lessons to learn. Now, I believe we are born to learn lessons as a good person as well as a bad person. I think this is all part of the evolution of our souls. Am I right? I have no idea, but I get satisfaction from this concept and from the research that Michael Newton has done with thousands of patients that he has seen from all over the world. I believe it, and I am comfortable with it, and it helps me to move on. So I'm good with it.
Okay, so 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I was a keynote speaker at Ritz-Carlton for a big dental convention, and I gave my little talk about kind of my thing. And I don't remember his name, I don't remember his face, but after my lecture was over, he came to me and said, I think I told you this before, that life isn't designed to bring us happiness, it's designed to bring us to transcendence. And again, I didn't understand what he meant. I still don't understand it, but I'm learning. Is this kind of what you're talking about?
Absolutely. So I'm not sure how he's defining transcendence, but I
Yeah,
would define
yeah.
it as moving up the ladder of our soul's evolution in experiencing every emotional, physical factor that a human body can experience. I think we all will experience all of these things and slowly move up the ladder to perfection, whatever that is, however that is defined.
Whatever that nirvana, whatever.
Right,
So
right.
I've always been a student of religions, and it seems like in every religion it describes as you are that this is a ladder in which we have to suffer in order to learn, and that really goes to Buddhism, that goes to Christianity, it goes to Judaism. It seems like it's universal.
I believe that all of these organized religions are basic, and those are basic because they are all based on exactly what I said. The only difference is they place a name on a God entity rather than a power source. Other than that, I think they're very, very similar.
In which maybe our humanity causes, in my minor thought, creates this dualism: what's good, what's bad. Are you doing which maybe there's neither? Maybe it's just
Maybe it's
anyways.
just what is,
Maybe it's
because we define things in a human way. Certainly, harming people is not good.
right.
Giving love is good. I think
Yeah.
those are very important lessons. But how do you understand love if you don't understand hate? How do you understand exuberance if you don't understand depression and being succumbing to bad things? I think you have
Wow.
to
Wow.
experience both positive and negative poles to understand the relevance of where you are in that linear emotional experience.
In the most simplistic terms, to try to break it down to my simple brain, if there's never a night, then how do you know there's a day?
Well, exactly. How do you know something smells good if you don't know what smells bad? So I think that the extremes need to be understood to know where you are in the continuum of that. And
Can
it's
we
a
take it a
learning
bit?
lesson.
That's profound. That is. I mean, and I could think about that for the next 3 weeks. Was in my brain, I review things. I review things. I review things. So what you said, I'll continue to review. But can I take it a little further?
Sure.
In our private conversation, you told me something that was rather profound for me about how, as a human, that we exude, or maybe
Energy.
energy.
Energy. We are energetic beings. We are made up of neurons. We're made up of nerve tissue. There's electricity flowing through our body or we would not function. So all of this is energy, and that energy has a field, and you can photograph the field of energy that radiates from a human being. I think it's called Kirlian photography. It's an aura. Many cultures understand that. They can feel it, they can sense it. But I think that we exude energy. And when we exude energy, if we're close to someone, they can feel or be receptive to our energy. If it's good, they feel good. If it's bad, they feel bad. We can cause energy in the room to rise or fall. Now, I don't know how scientific this all is, except we are energetic beings, and that's been shown time in and time out. So our bodies only function with the fact that electrons are flowing around and we are electrical beings.
Well, you even described the fact in that photography you just mentioned
Yeah.
that you could see it, that it's
Yes.
there.
Yes. So the photography, Kirlian photography, apparently can put a color to the energy, and you can see different gradations of various colors. And it has been shown that people that are sick or highly depressed will have a different color aura around them rather than a brighter, more fresh aura if you're healthy or positive in your thoughts. Now, I don't know how predictive that is, but I would suppose that it is somewhat. And it is interesting, again, that we're exuding this energy in our environment. You know, you've heard the term that you can feel the energy in the room. And I'm not so sure that that's not true. You have a room full of expectant people that want to hear your talk. They're very excited. They're putting out positive energy, and you feel it. And you can go into a room where there are negative people that you know don't like you, and you can feel the tension in the room. I think there is energy flowing that we sense.
Well, to put it even further, and I keep going back to your words, you said, as we talked about having these fireside chats, so to speak, you said it isn't so much the facts that you're giving, but the energy in which you're transpiring.
I think that's true. I am passionate about the things that I do. So when I talk about periodontics and gut health and chronic disease, I'm pretty passionate because I believe the gut is the center of everything that happens in our body. It's not the only thing, but you got to start somewhere, and I think it's the gut. Certainly, diet, lifestyle is critical, but if the gut is unhealthy, all of those things don't get into the body properly. So I am passionate about most things that I try to do, and I'm passionate about getting healthier naturally. I am also passionate about resisting chemotherapy. I know that it could bring me into remission. I know that it could extend my life. And I know pretty sure it would significantly decrease the quality of my life. Just as this fracture of my arm and leg and trauma that I experienced 6 weeks or so ago destroyed the quality of my life. I could not live like that and then want to go on. Now that I'm recovering and getting this back into a quality state, I am passionate about doing it.
May I pack something for you?
Sure.
Okay.
Help me understand what I'm doing.
No, you're blowing me away. No, but I just for people that are maybe just tuning in for the first time, you've explained it quite succinctly that the reason you're not doing that because there is a quality of life. So certainly it may be the chemo, the drugs, the therapies, the radiation may extend your life, but at what cost?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And I believe the cost is more than I want to pay. Let me just mention this because it's very critical that any listener understands this. What I am doing for myself is not designed for anybody else. I do not want anybody to think that they should not do their own chemotherapy, that their oncologist has told them to do. Do your research, and if you feel that's the right thing for you, do it. I am not going to tell you to eliminate chemotherapy and go on a supplement regimen that I'm doing. I am a study of N equals 1. I am not, what I'm doing is not proven. It may not work, but it has maintained a quality of life that I am wonderfully comfortable with. My original diagnosis was to live 3 to 5 months. So in September of 2018, most people thought I would be dead by the end of 2018. Now, It is
Wow.
beyond when I was diagnosed with my disease. I feel better emotionally and physically, with one exception, and that is I have, well, two exceptions. I have a problem with my right leg, and I have a problem with my right arm. But other than that, physically, I feel fantastic. But the holes in my bone are there. They're not going away, and I have a very significant chance and risk of having another pathological fracture and dealing with it, unfortunately, the way I had to deal with this 6 weeks ago. Hopefully that's not going to happen.
So you bring up very important point that I shouldn't have brought up, that you're a doctor, I'm a doctor, you're not providing medical advice.
Absolutely not.
You're showing what you're doing. This is
Correct.
for information, educational. Whatever you do with this information is up to you. This is what you're doing. I think that worth being said.
Absolutely. And attitude is something that everyone should work toward. So if you're in a state of disease like I am with cancer, or you are with MS, and your doctors who you have confidence in are recommending a protocol that utilizes modern medicines, conventional medicines, and this makes sense to you, do it, but do it with the attitude to help your body heal. And do it with an attitude and a knowledge base that you have to do more than just take medicines. You need to have the nutrition that your body requires, and you have to have a healthy gut to absorb these nutrients, and then include all the chemicals that your body may be able to heal itself from. But don't just do the chemotherapy with a poor attitude and eating ice cream and cookies and cakes and think that you're going to be healthy. That's not going to work.
I would love to rewind that and play that over and over and over and over again.
Well,
I would.
and again, the Walls protocol, ideal. A healthy gut, ideal. Get those two things in order and treat yourself accordingly to whatever research that you have done on your own. I mean, don't believe everything anybody says. Do some independent research, make some decisions, and follow that course of thinking. But you can only get success if you're doing it with a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet and a healthy gut.
Can I see one more thing that kind of analogous to this?
Sure.
Okay. So when I was in practice, I worked on Park Avenue in Manhattan. I worked with two Jewish men that were incredible businessmen. Incredible. They taught me. My success I could give to them very easily. But the one advice from, and I'll mention his name because I think the world of him, and he's an older man now. His name is Joseph Ossipo. He told me the one thing I don't want you to discuss, or the two things I want you to discuss, is religion or food. But what you did, what you talked about, your theory, your philosophy, is not contrary to any religion. It's not putting down, it's not toting. This is just a philosophy I think you've adopted that's inclusive and not exclusive. Is that fair?
I would agree completely. I have no problem with any religion.
Yeah.
I do have problems with religious groups that want to control a group of people. That has nothing to do with the spiritual side of religion.
Amen.
So every religion in its basic core, I think pretty much is very similar to every other religion.
Very well said.
Basic core.
Very well said. I'm not going to keep you a lot longer because we already kept you longer than your wife probably is.
I'm good.
So, geez, we've covered so much. I just love that you're here and you're sharing your experiences. I mean, and of course, we're going to have you back. But
well, this conversation is very, very healthy for not just you and me, but for the people that are listening, because You are an individual suffering from a degenerative disease that is a critical disease that needs to be aired and spoken about, and you can talk from experience. You're not an educated person with never experiencing MS, because no one that doesn't experience MS can really speak of MS. I am a person with some professional experience as a periodontist, but I'm a person with active, incurable bone marrow cancer. So if I were just an educated person, knowledgeable in bone marrow cancer, I couldn't speak of bone marrow cancer to a person because I've not experienced it. There is a total difference
Yes.
from the experience of the disease and the knowledge of the disease.
Yeah, I just love you.
You and I are speaking on a platform that is probably unheard of.
You can't.
Right?
I don't even know how to say that. There's no words.
Let's make this viral and let's get more people to listen to us, because we are talking from the heart and we're talking from a passionate view. And you and I, you have recovered. I have recovered. I'm not cured. You're not cured. I have recovered. You have recovered from devastation. And we can talk in that realm that most people cannot do.
Well, I could tell you, doctor, I almost don't have any more tears. Like they just have dried up. I've had experiences in my life, as I'm sure you have, that I'm just to the point now where I'm just, I don't know. So, and I wanted you to summate, but it's impossible. Like a summate in a sentence or two sentences or in a paragraph about what your advice would be, but you can't. I mean, you could write.
Here's what I would say. Take control of your own destiny. If you have a problem, research it. Don't listen to the experts without doing some research, because the experts may not be experts. You need to do some independent research and believe in natural healing. It may not be everything, but your body is an amazing organism. We have been around for 2.5 million years. Our bodies know genetically how to survive and thrive. Give your body what it needs, remove what it doesn't need, and avoid the things that could be toxic. And any of that should be good advice for every human being.
See, people criticize me as a cheerleader to Dr. Walls, and I'm not a cheerleader to Dr. Walls. I am a cheerleader to what she's saying. I think she's well ahead of her time, but she's not the only person. There's Dale Bredesen. I mean, there's a myriad.
And it's becoming so much more well-known and sought after by the general public. So 10 years ago, you wouldn't have heard these things on the internet. Where was the internet 10 years ago? But you wouldn't have heard these things. Books were not written about.
We're given a slap on the back.
Right.
Which drugs do you want? Good luck.
Right.
You know, and not to cheerlead Dr. Walls again, but, you know, she made a statement the other day that really profoundly affected me. You know, in the South, our lawns go dormant in the winter, right? They go brown. But guess what? They get nutrients, they get water, they get sunlight, and lo and behold, they're green again. So are our bodies not the same?
Of course our bodies are similar. Our bodies are regrowing cells constantly. The cell lining in the gut literally replaces itself every 2 to 3 days.
Yes.
The cells in our skeleton, I don't know exactly, I may be wrong, but our skeletal cells replace themselves every 6 or 7 years. So our body is in a constant state of repair.
Right. So we may not know exactly what dates and what times, and I don't know that either. But we know that our cells are not permanent; they're in constant turnover. And things like autophagy, things like new stem cells. Like stem cells aren't always in the bottle. We can produce our own stem cells. Do you agree?
Of course, we do produce our own stem cells.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Through intermittent fasting, through good diet, whatever.
Absolutely.
Sunlight.
Pretty important.
Yeah.
I don't
So
get much sunlight, unfortunately. I'm not been outside for 6 weeks, but
yeah.
sunlight is great. I will do that. Certainly, vitamin D, critical element.
Well, can you and if you're okay with this, can you talk a little bit about spore antibiotics? I'm sorry,
Yeah,
spore
the spore-based.
biotics.
So the spore-based probiotics are very, very fascinating, and there is some independent research. Let me give you the research first. 2005, I believe, there was a study done with 35 brand name, well-known probiotics in the market.
Okay.
So probiotics are basically living bacteria that are known to be beneficial and living in the gut. They're healthy and necessary for the gut to maintain what it's supposed to do um, in that environment. So you take these probiotics by capsule or tablet or maybe even a liquid form, and you swallow them, and theoretically they get into the gut and you grow new bacteria. That's not so. So these 35 well-known brand name probiotics were tested. And what happens is these probiotics go into your stomach. The stomach acid, which is a pH of around 1 if you're basically healthy, literally destroys 100% of the bacteria. They're dead. And why is that so? The stomach acid not only helps digestion and a variety of other things, but it's our first line of defense to kill off bacteria and all kinds of microbes. So we didn't have the stomach acid to kill off these things, you would walk outside, breathe the air, and die the next day because it would get into your system. So we have stomach acid that kills almost, if not all, bacteria. Not all, but almost. So these 35 brands of probiotics were killed. Now, what didn't get destroyed were the metabolites, the biologically active chemicals that these bacteria created in its capsule or tablet form. And they do get into the gut, and they do provide benefit to the remaining gut bacteria, and they are beneficial. But you're only getting 50% of what a probiotic should be. You're just getting the activity of the metabolites.
So when you say metabolites, so you're getting the benefits of perhaps the chemical nature, but not actually, they're not growing. They're not.
Right. So you're getting the chemical nature of the bacteria and the chemicals that they have created in that environment of the capsule or the tablet. Spore-based probiotics are somewhat unique, and they've been studied with the same test, and they are 100% resistant to 100%. The stomach acid.
Wow.
And in nature and in a natural environment, these spores are in good organic ground. They come from the feces of animals that are dropping their feces in the ground. The organic soils where the fruits and vegetables grow allow these spores to incorporate into the material of the food. We eat them, they're resistant to the cooking, and it gets into our system. We don't get that much anymore, but you can get spore-based probiotics, and when those spores go through the stomach acid untouched, and in the environment of the intestines, they start to reproduce, they start to germinate. So the metabolites of these chemical, biologically active chemicals that they're producing are beneficial, but they're producing more beneficial bacteria, enhancing the other bacteria to grow in numbers and quantity and quality. So you are definitely enhancing the gut. So you're getting the 100% benefit of a true probiotic. So true probiotics must be resistant to the stomach acid, and the stomach acid destroys other friendly bacteria except the spores. So the spores are the ones.
Are they enhanced by prebiotics, food?
No, so prebiotics now are fibers in foods that feed the natural bacteria in the gut. So the gut bacteria needs to survive, and these are fibers that our body doesn't digest, but the bacteria in our gut does digest. And those bacteria feed on these fibers called prebiotics, and they grow to do what they're supposed to do.
I tend to remember a lot of things. So I've been taking a course at the Institute of Functional Medicine, and Dr. Walls, I know, I'm sorry, I'm the cheerleader, right? But so she got up there and somebody asked her the question, do you love juicing? She said, I love juicing. Throw away the juice and eat the fiber.
There you go, and I agree.
I was like, wow. I was like,
I totally agree.
She's just brilliant. And everybody's like, you know, because it was like she just nailed it, because you get all the sugars, get rid of all that stuff,
right,
get the prebiotics, and there we go. So then would you also agree, if you know, this is nothing new, right? We go through droughts, we go through winters, we go through that these bacteria have to go into these spores to survive. Otherwise you'd have a winter, you'd have a drought, and they'd be gone. But all of a sudden, lo and behold, in the desert, you get a rain and whammo, there it happens, right?
That's right.
Really?
That's right. Wow. So I do believe in our way of eating and living in our society today. I would say most people, maybe all people, but certainly most people need good, healthy bacteria in their guts. And the best way to get it is some natural, these are not manufactured. They're not manufactured synthetically. These are the real spore-based probiotics that you ingest. And I think that for me, certainly, I do a very intense protocol to support my gut. Not only the spore-based probiotics, I take certain prebiotics. I take some other supplements to support the mucus layer in my gut, which is a critical layer, to support the epithelial layer, which is the layer, one cell layer, where nutrients literally have to penetrate to get into the bloodstream. We want everything in the gut working as ideal as possible.
Okay,
and there are problems in determining that. So a stool test is relatively inaccurate because it only tests a portion of the stool in the colon. But I have heard, I don't have direct experience, but I have heard people that have had stool tests 3 days in a row, same person, same lab, the results are totally different. So that will say that the stool tests are relatively inaccurate. So they give false positives and false negatives. You can't really harm yourself in taking good nutrients in a diet. You can't harm yourself with healthy exercise unless physically you can't do that. You can't hurt yourself drinking healthy water. So you can't hurt yourself taking healthy probiotics in a spore-based form that support the normal gut bacteria.
Just very quickly, I'll add something to that, and I'm sure you'll agree. There's something, and I won't mention his name, but high-dose vitamin D, high-dose vitamin A. I mean, there's certain like water-soluble vitamins that you can possibly, without doctor supervision or no, like you would agree they would be harmful.
Sure. I don't want to take high doses in supplement form of vitamins.
Thank you.
I want to get it from food.
Thank you.
I don't think you can find the probiotics in foods because the foods are cooked and processed, and you can't identify organic cabbage and do a test to see what healthy bacteria there are. Maybe you can. I haven't seen that recently.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So certain things you can take, but I want the nutrients natural. So I'm not taking a capsule of vitamin A.
Okay.
I want to eat healthy, wild-caught fish and poultry and beef. I want to eat the organs. Critical. You need to have all these amino acids from the organs to balance out the other amino acids.
The most prized food in history, no, the organs.
Absolutely. There is a tribe in Africa, I can't remember, that I've heard many stories about, where they go on a kill. The first thing they do is slice the animal open and eat the liver raw still hot from the body temperature. So liver is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. You need to eat these foods.
I have family in Canada, not so much anymore, but old family that they would go on a moose hunt, and that they would actually take the organs and eat those first, and the lean meats would go to the dogs.
Right, and I've heard those stories too. And then the meat is important, but the organs are critical. But it has to be balanced. You have to have a plate of food that's more than 50% non-starchy vegetables, just like the Wahls protocol.
So it's virtually impossible to overdose on liver, wouldn't you say?
I would say you cannot overdose on liver because your body tells you when you're full. And when you're full, satiated, not stuffed, but you're satiated, you stop eating. Right. You know, when you're thirsty, you drink. And that way you won't die of thirst or have hydration problems. But if you deny your body's need for water when you're thirsty and you don't drink, then you can become dehydrated, and you can take chemicals that dehydrate you, but that's a different story.
So people will criticize or maybe comment on the fact that, how do I say it properly? Not that you've given up, but do you still think with the proper nutrients, with the things you're doing, there's still a chance that you can recover, that you could, or what's your thoughts there?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really go there because I don't know. Right. I know that this disease, based on conventional medicine, is not curable.
Yeah.
Everyone dies from multiple myeloma, the complications of multiple myeloma. Can I survive a long time? Probably. What's going to be my downfall, I think, is a pathological fracture with maybe internal bleeding to the point where my body will succumb. And it will, if that's the way it is, it's the way it is, but I want to try to prevent that.
Okay, so then analogous to this, and I get this criticism quite a bit about the Wahls protocol. Somebody like me that's been dealing with multiple sclerosis for decades has an incredible amount of damage. So me eating right for 3 months, 6 months, a year, is that going to turn 40 years of damage around?
No way. And I'm living proof.
Thank you.
So I started my healthy diet and lifestyle 7 years ago. And at that time, I thought, I'm really getting my body back to normal. I'm really going to not have problems. I think that was not true. I think that damage can be done early enough that has complicated the body's ability to heal completely. And although I think a healthy diet and lifestyle can help reduce the signs and manifestation of a disease or make the disease manifest less symptomatically or less severely, I don't think that once you're diseased, you get into a healthy state of lifestyle and diet and all the harm you've done disappears. I think it can slowly repair, but I think the damage that has been done, especially decades ago, can leave a mark.
I'll add something to that. I think I've heard it out of your mouth. The quality of life, though, that you've taken control of for 7 years, perhaps if you hadn't done that, would you think?
I think that I would have died much earlier.
Okay.
I would have had much more manifestations and earlier manifestations of this or something else. I mean, I could have prevented many other chronic diseases. I mean, I could have had a heart attack. I could have had many chronic diseases. Maybe I have prevented those from the lifestyle that I've corrected 7 years ago. And maybe it has repaired those issues that could have happened. But this malignancy is there. And it could have been there for decades. And like I said, I think my dental training initiated the risk and weakness and damage. And over time, it's done what it's done.
I won't take a lot of time, but what he's describing, even when I was in school, and I was in school quite a few years later than him, we're locked in this room. We mix up chemicals. We breathe them in all day. We shoot X-rays. We play with amalgam. We're just in the basement, and God only knows what we're exposed to. There's nobody monitoring any of these chemicals. They're in our mouths. They're in our skin. I mean, they're just all over.
Dentistry really is a toxic profession with chemical exposure.
From nitrous oxide to mercury and all.
And methyl methacrylate and all the chemical plastics that we use.
I still smell it.
I know. I know.
And right to the formaldehyde from the dissections.
Oh, I know.
So,
that was a fragrance you cannot forget.
Never I'll forget. I still
know.
get my netter still smells of it.
I know.
Someday in the future, hopefully the near future, we could really tap your brain about dentistry, periodontal disease, dental toxins, dental dentrifices, brushing teeth, all the burning topics. I'd love to pick your brain because you absolutely have a wealth of knowledge. You have a wonderful book out there on the topic that I encourage everybody to look up on Amazon and get yourself a copy. I love it. The title,
Crazy Good Living.
Crazy Good Living by Dr. Alvin Dannenberg. Wonderful book. Love it. I encourage everybody to get it. He also has a blog. I continue to publish on the site. I'll do more of it. He's got a wonderful blog. I haven't quite pushed it out yet, but you'll see it on the Wallace Protocol. You'll find it. Website they can go to?
drdannenberg.com, which would be DRDANENBERG.com.
I will post that in the show notes. I will also rebroadcast this. I'll try to do a little editing just to make it a little simpler because I know at the beginning it was a little, before you were on, not your fault at all, of course. You did astonishingly well. I am just so thankful that it actually works, that you're on. And
well, this is a good platform. I mean, you look good, I look good, sounds good. So Zoom is a good platform, I think.
I think it's wonderful. And you are the one that pushed me here because I was trying to use another platform that would not work.
Yeah,
so you pushed me there. I said, oh boy, I got to learn something. So I did. And, I don't know that I'm using it to the full potential, but it's working. So I thank you. More so, I thank your wife, and
Sue's a pillar for me.
Your wife